Hey guys, welcome to my channel Automate Innovation. So today we are going to see Selenium Automation tool introduction. So it's been a while that I was discussing about and mentioning about the difference between this tool and QTP. Now it's time to just go ahead and study the next tool. This is the most popular tool available in the market today as an open source. So let's look into what are we going to learn today in this session. So we'll look into just a brief history about Selenium, and we'll look into the different components of Selenium framework, and then we will look into the other topics once we complete these. So to start off with Selenium history, right? So Selenium was invented by Jason Huggins in the year 2004. So the need or the necessity what Jason had felt was that while doing manual testing, he had to do a lot of repetitive testing for a particular application. So he found it very much time consuming, and it was consuming a lot of effort as well. So to minimize the execution time as well as to minimize the effort, he thought of just preparing some program. So he had prepared one JavaScript program, and that what that program used to do is that it used to repetitively do the actions what we used to do as a manual action. So it will just try to do the same action repetitively. So that is what Jason Huggins thought would be a good idea, and it will help his team as well as his project to get completed sooner with the tight deadlines which they had. And that did work out, and it was a success. Later on, he decided that okay, let's just call it as a JavaScript test runner. And but there was a issue with this test runner. The issue was that it just used to be requiring the application and the whatever pages the application will call to be on the same domain. So for example, if I have a website like www.abc.com, if I have any link or pages which I am trying to click on, it if it is redirecting to a page which is within abc.com, it's perfectly fine. It's within the same domain, so it will not cause any issue. But let's say it's leading to another domain like xyz.com, so it's altogether a different domain. So that was the concept of same origin policy. So what used to happen, this particular Selenium core or the test runner program was not allowing or restricting the redirection from one domain to another domain. So that was the issue which was happening here. So that was the concept of same origin policy issue. So we'll look into the history as we are discussing about this. So after this, there was a need to resolve the same origin policy issue. So then another programmer from the same ThoughtWorks company thought, okay, it will be better if we have some kind of a server which will basically, make the user or the browser believe basically that the application as well as the core program, the test runner file, basically are belonging to the same domain. So he tried to create a server which will make that browser believe that the actions are coming from the same domain. So that was basically called the Selenium remote control, which we popularly call it as Selenium RC. Right. But with Selenium RC, there was a problem. It was that it was every time you are basically requiring this particular automation to be done, you have to start the server. And to start the server was itself a very slow and a tedious process. And in case the server couldn't be started due to some technical issue, then your automation will go for a toss. So this was a very big drawback of Selenium remote control, which required some strong particular tool to be invented or being brought about. And Simon Stewart did the same in 2008 here. So he brought the invention of WebDriver tool. So WebDriver was a very powerful tool because with the invention of powerful browsers and different programming languages and operating system in the market, we needed something which will directly interact with the OS should be directly interacting with the browser. That was the need of the hour, and that's what this particular inventor did. He exactly brought the about that invention in Selenium, and with WebDriver, Selenium became much popular. It was a very powerful tool within itself, and we are now using it widely. So later, what happened was that IDE and RC. So RC basically was deprecated, and they decided that okay, let's just form Selenium 2. So from RC, it got deprecated, it became Selenium 2. So today in Selenium 2, we are having WebDriver and Selenium Grid, and it was later enhanced to a higher version, Selenium 3. Right. Now we are discussing about the Selenium grid. We heard this term just right now. So what is Selenium grid? So to achieve and parallel execution and to minimize your execution time, there was another person who invented the Selenium grid. And what he felt was that it will help us to reduce the execution time if we run the test across multiple machines and have them run concurrently. It will save our execution time and also achieve the results faster. So that is why we are having Selenium grid here. And Selenium grid uses the concept of hub and nodes. So what it means is that you need to have a hub started. You would be having nodes as well. So you would be requiring some node to interact with the hub. So basically hub will decide that okay, which particular node will start or do execution. So if at all, let's say you're having an automation test suite. So we don't know in which node the execution is going to happen. It will be all decided at runtime by the hub. So if it has multiple nodes connected to it, it will decide which browser or which particular test to be carried out on which particular node. So that is all about Selenium grid. So together this forms the entire Selenium framework or components which we can call. And Selenium WebDriver is the current version which we are using. Selenium IDE basically was a record and play tool. So it's just like a plugin being used. Initially, it was invented for Firefox, and now it's available even in Google Chrome browser. So what it allows a user to do is they can go to a website and they can click on the record button. So it will automatically start recording all your actions in a script. And that script is basically saved in a language called as Selenese language. So later that script can also be converted to WebDriver, either be it in Java format or be it in PHP or Python. That can be later on exported and then that can be basically imported in your Eclipse. But it's just that it's just like a record and play tool. It doesn't have much features, like you cannot have a if else loop or any looping logic or a conditional logic. It doesn't have any much of a programming feature. It was just like a plain record and play tool. So it was not much effective in today's automation world where we need such a large kind of requirements we are having, that we would need it to automate each and every different types of scenarios. So WebDriver is the one which we are widely using today and coupled with Selenium Grid as well. The reason we say Selenium Grid, because as we discussed, parallel execution is also very much important. It will save our execution time very much. Okay, so we saw the first three pointers now, the same origin policy issue, and to resolve that issue, we also discussed that RC was introduced and then later on WebDriver resolved the drawbacks of RC. Now, what are the essentials to get started with the Selenium automation tool? This is the question in everyone's mind. How do I get started? Is it possible for us to learn without going to any particular coaching or something? Yeah, the answer is yes, definitely. And we should be learning Selenium. If you are a manual tester and if you wish to upgrade your knowledge and your skill set to a next level, Selenium is the right choice, I would say, because it's an open source tool. You can easily read and go through the data and contents online videos and then get started. It's not at all difficult, believe me. It's very easy. You just have to have constant practice and also need to know one of the programming languages. Yeah, that's the part which I want to discuss right now for this pointer. What are the essentials? So essential, of course, we would need some programming language to get on and work on this automation tool. But you have different options and you have the flexibility to choose which automation a tool to be used with which language. So we have Selenium to be used with Python, Java, Ruby, Perl, PHP. So a lot of options are available with Selenium. Whereas in QTP, we just had one option, that is VBScript. So we are going to learn this entire tutorial series in Selenium using Java programming language. And I will be also creating a new series with Python as well. But to start off, we will start with Java and we will just see what all things do we need to get started with the Selenium automation tool. So the next thing what we require is a jar file. So Selenium, it's basically a collection of all libraries which is in the form of a jar file. And for different purposes, there are so many jars available in the internet. You can just download it and you have to add it to your project and get started. So it's all available. We just have to use it, configure to our Eclipse, and we have to get started. So we will see the second last and the last steps in a while, and also we will see a short, simple Selenium program. and then we will get started. So let's just go to Google Chrome and let's just see what all things we need. So the first thing we need is, of course, a programming language. So if you don't have Java in your system, you have to install Java. So for that, I've already covered in my previous tutorial in Java introduction. You can refer it as to how to install Java and how to set up path and class path. So once Java is installed, and if you just check it in your machine, if you just check it in your machine, you just have to type Java hyphen version. And if it gives you the output like this, whatever version you have installed, that means Java is successfully installed and set up in your machine. With just that, you have to set up the path and class path, right? So assuming that that particular step is done and you have seen my previous video, we will proceed further. So now the next step, what we need for Selenium is to download Selenium standalone server jar. So we have different versions available. So you could choose any of them, but let's just choose for now 2.5.3, 2.53.1. So even we have 3 or above 3. Just to keep it simple, initially we will just stick to 2.553. So you just have to go to this link, the official website, seleniumhq.org, and you can just choose which version you want. So this is the latest version available if you wish to download that. If you want to go for any previous versions, then they have a link as well, right? So if you want, so this is the Java uh, Selenium client. So if you can download, if you download this, it will give you the Java jar file for Selenium, supporting Selenium. But Selenium standalone server, if you download it, is actually more than enough, because that will basically even support Java as well. So you can say here that they have given a list of previous releases as well. So we'll go to that. Yeah. So here we could download 2.51, and here we are going to require, I'll just tell you which all things are required. So you would need Selenium server standalone jar. You have to download this one. You have to download Selenium Java if you need it, but this also will serve your purpose. We would need IE driver server. If you have to basically run your programs in IE, you have to download IE driver server. But by default, your Selenium supports Firefox. So for Firefox, you don't need to download any driver. But for Google Chrome as well, you will need to download the driver. So that drivers, you can get it from the third party tools which are available here. So if you just go below, yeah, IE driver, there is a link here depending upon which is your version of operating system. And for Google Chrome driver, we have the link here, and we can go and download the latest link. And above version 3 in Selenium, guys, you have to download this Mozilla Gecko driver. Yeah, so Gecko driver would be required if you are using more than version 3. And Safari driver, HTML unit driver are for the other browsers. So HTML unit we will just see later on. But and Microsoft Edge is also another popular browser available today. So for that as well, you would be have to require to download this driver, right? So now let's say this is downloaded and it's available in your desktop. The next step is that you have to go to your Eclipse. Okay, you have to create your project. So you have to go to new Java project, right? So when you do that, you just have to give a name like Selenium demo I've given here. And inside this src, I've created a new file called first Selenium program demo.java. Okay. Now after this is done, it's a Java file, and we have to do right click and go to build path and go to configure build path. So here if you see, I have added already the Selenium server standalone jar file. So you have to basically click on this particular add external jars. So it will show you from where you want to browse. So you could select where you want to browse to. So you could either select any of the jars like OJDBC is for connecting to JDBC, Oracle JDBC. If you want to connect or do any operations with Excel using Selenium, you can use Apache POI. So for Selenium server standalone will serve a purpose for Java and Selenium basic commands. So I'll just use this for now. And it's already added in my project. So I'll just keep it as it is just to apply and close. Okay. So once that's done, you are ready to start off. You have configured Selenium in your Eclipse and already downloaded the jars which are necessary. Now you just have to get started with Selenium. So we need to know a very basic concept in Selenium that is called WebDriver. So as we discussed, Selenium 2 and 3 are all about WebDriver. So WebDriver is the main part which we need to understand and use it. But just a very quick thing. Before you get on to Selenium tutorials, I would really strongly advise you all to go over my complete Java tutorial series. I've already created some videos in Java, and Java is very much required before you proceed with Selenium. The reason is because whatever programming we are going to do is all going to be in Java language. It's just that for doing certain actions like opening the web browser, interacting with the elements in the web browser, we will be using Selenium. So it's a combination of both Selenium commands and Java language. Okay, so I'll create a variable WebDriver driver. It's just that I'm creating a variable now. And what is WebDriver here? I'll explain that. So if you do a mouse over, you would see that it is asking you to import the WebDriver. So let's import it. Okay. So what is a WebDriver and what is that we are going to do now? So let's just understand this. So WebDriver basically is a interface. It's not a class. It's an interface. Okay. It's an interface which provides a lot of collection of different things which we can do with it. So how do we instantiate this interface? So we can actually load any browser with the help of this driver variable. The driver is a reference variable and we can load any instance of browser, be it Chrome or Firefox or IE. It's just that which driver we are going to use, it depends on that, and accordingly we can load it. So what I'll be doing is that I'll be creating the object of this program and I will show you all how to get started. You just have to create an object. So this is how we create an object in Java. You have to use a new operator to allocate space. Okay. Now I'll be creating a method here. Let's say setup. Okay. And in this method, we are going to do whatever we need to do operations with Java and to load the browser. So I'll basically have to. So let's say I'm going to use Firefox for my this tutorial. So I need not do anything. I can directly get started with this syntax. Once I have driver mentioned here, I just have to say driver equal to new Firefox driver, and that is it. You just have to import this driver, Firefox driver, which is available in your standalone server jar file, and it doesn't give you any error later on. Once that is done, now let's just go one by one with respect to the basic syntax to be used for Selenium. Now, Selenium will be all actions will be done by this driver reference variable. So you have to start off all of your actions by this driver variable. So when you do driver dot, you are shown such a long list of methods which are available with it. You can do anything with this methods. You just have to understand what are these methods. So if you just do a mouse over, it will just show you what exactly it is doing. So if I just want to open a browser, I have to use a method called get method. Okay. So with this get method, I have to mention which URL I want to load. So let's say for now, I'm going to use gmail.com as my simple example in this tutorial. Okay. I'll mention gmail.com. Okay. This is how we are loading a URL. Okay. And this will allow us to load the browser. So we are using Firefox browser for this tutorial. The next step is that, see, once we have opened the browser, we should be able to view it completely. So we have to maximize it. So we are going to use manage method and we have to go to window and we have to say maximize. So this is the syntax to maximize your window. And then let's just go ahead. So now what will happen is that once you have loaded your URL and you will be having certain actions to be done within the UI page and you might be redirecting to some other page. So it will sometimes take some time for your all of your elements in the web page to get loaded completely. So it's always a good practice to make sure that you give some implicit weight and explicit weight. If required for a certain element, you need to then use explicit weight, but implicit weight is the most preferred way what we should do for any framework or any project in Selenium. So how do we give implicit weight? Let's just understand that. So we have to use driver.manage. We have to go to timeouts and we should say implicitly wait. So it's saying give a argument, long argument, a value here, and the next argument is the time unit. So let's just say we want to wait for, let's say, 5 seconds. Okay. And we want to say time unit dot, so we can give seconds here, right? So since it's Java syntax, remember it should be ending with semicolon all your statements. So that's the reason we are following this, right? So once this is done, your implicit wait is also set up. Now what next? We also have to set up our page load timeout. The reason is because sometimes it takes some time for your page to load completely. If there are some dynamic CSS elements which may take some time, then it's always a good practice to even give some timeout for your maximum time limit for your page to get loaded completely. So I'm just going to say here driver.manage your timeouts.page load timeout. So what have we done so far? So far we have given a command to just get our Firefox browser loaded. We have given a URL to which URL we want it to be loaded. We have maximized the browser so that the application is fully viewable to the user. We have given an implicit wait and we have given a page load timeout. So this is the basic thing which we would be requiring to be done in this session. And I will just show you all much more details in my next session where we will just go one step further. So I'll just ensure that now we run this program and it gives us the right output. So using this object, now we have to call this setup, right? So now let's go ahead and run our program. So we can just directly click on it. So you could see that now the browser is getting loaded. So it has opened the Gmail application in the web browser Firefox. So now it should maximize it. So sometimes it takes some time depending upon your net connectivity, or sometimes it gets slower due to some server issues. So we have to adjust our implicit wait or our page load timeout accordingly. Yeah, now it has maximized the browser. So it's fully viewable to the user now. So they can do any interactions with this page. And when they do that, it will simulate the actions as if actually the user is trying to do it manually. So that is the power of Selenium WebDriver. Through the usage of any programming language, we can achieve automation. And when we have a lot of tests in automation, we can develop automation suites which will help our project to save consequent amount of time and also contribute to the return of investment. So that's all for my session today, and hope you liked it. And I'll be posting more videos on Selenium in my next tutorials. Stay tuned. Thank you so much.